hi Holly, I just started listening to your videos and very inspired by your journey. I'm learning so much. Aw. I just started a calorie deficit phase, goal of fat loss. What modifications would you recommend to women following your program who are postmenopausals? Now, in terms of navigating fat loss, if you are menopausal, what's really interesting is that there isn't anything like specifically mysterious about, aging, and that all of a sudden you gain all this body fat with no physiological reasons or justification behind it. Your metabolism doesn't just naturally drop off. What can happen is that with aging, as our lifestyle choices change, as our dietary preferences change, we tend to engage in less activity and more, calorically dense, decadent food. And that can be less favorable when it comes to losing body fat. Now, the other thing that's problematic is that as we age and our sex hormones change, so testosterone tends to reduce, estrogen levels tend to fall. That combination of hormone changes also subjectively leaves us feeling really energy deprived. We don't have a whole lot of energy, and thus, if you're not feeling great, why would we want to go and train hard at the gym, which would be conducive for building muscle? If your hormones are outside of the normal reference ranges, I think the first thing that I would recommend doing is going to an endocrinologist, getting all of your blood work done, a comprehensive metabolic panel, and all of your sex hormones, just to find out if there is anything that is clinically low that needs medical attention. I had that problem in 2022 and all of 2023. I had multiple rounds of blood work where my testosterone levels were sitting at about a 5 or somewhere between 5 and 7 micromoles per deciliter, which is well below normal. And at the time, I was only 33 and 34. And then, I went about it and made multiple modifications to my diet, got my calories back up, put on body fat. I was back up at 20% body fat, 22% body fat, which is otherwise healthy for females. Tried to reduce my stress as best as I could. Obviously, the situation was a little challenging, but I did everything in my means to fix that, and nothing changed. So, even me at age 35 now, I have to have testosterone replacement therapy. I'm on a therapeutic dose to get me back up to where all the other women are naturally. It's great. So it is really frustrating, and that can definitely influence your overall day-to-day energy levels and just your capacity to, perform well, train hard, show up and be consistent. So I think that's one thing that is really common for a lot of women in their 40s, 50s and 60s, and that's like my niche. That's who I work with. So I am no stranger to those kinds of conversations. I think in terms of navigating fat loss, there isn't anything wildly unique or different that you'd have to do from, somebody that is not going through menopause. Creating a calorie deficit is still the same. Protein target still the same, though I would encourage women over the age of 40 to kind of err on the higher side of that recommended reference range than the lower side, just because of muscle sarcopenia. As we get a little bit older, we are not able to signal muscle growth as effectively under the same stimulus as our former 20-year-old self. So protein modification does need to adjust slightly, but doesn't have to be crazy. And then all the other recommendations about training volume, we shoot for optimal, but then there's just what you can do. I hope that answers your question. I think in terms of my actual program, you don't really need to make a whole lot of adjustments. The rep ranges that I use in my more recent programs are probably favorable for women too that are, aging, and we're being more mindful and caring towards our bones and joints and things like that. So, when I was younger, in my early mid to late 20s, I was doing a lot more powerlifting. I was really interested in having strength goals, loved it. It was also really hard, but loved it. But, as we get older, our joints, our tendons, ligaments, they're not as able to accommodate and recover as they did when we were younger. So I have geared away a little bit from doing those lower rep ranges, strength-based, heavy load training. Now my programs are, moderate to higher rep ranges to kind of, protect our joints a little bit more, as they tend to be the things that become compromised under heavy load, less so our muscle. So yeah, I think my program would be perfectly reasonable, but with those caveats.